podcast, I'm joined by someone I had the pleasure of competing with at Miss Universe Canada, Nataliya Klinovska. Nat is based in Toronto and works in the infrastructure sector, where she's passionate about building equitable and inclusive communities through good public infrastructure. She's also a huge foodie who just came back from exploring the incredible cuisine of Greece. What I love most about Nat's story is how she went from being a shy kid, even failing a grade because of it, to becoming a confident woman who now speaks publicly and uses her voice for impact. Today, we'll talk about how growth often starts in discomfort and how keeping the promises we make to ourselves can truly change our life.
Okay, sounds good. Let's just go for it.
Yeah, so let's just get into it. So, I just wanted to get started, maybe asking you to tell us a little bit about you, Nat. So, for those that don't know, competed with me at Miss Universe Canada. So, she's a fellow sister from the pageant world. So, just tell us a little bit about you, what you do, your background, where you're from, anything fun about you.
Anna and I met about 3 months ago now when we competed for Miss Universe Canada. I am from Toronto, Canada, and I was originally born in Ukraine. I was born in Kiev, and I moved to Canada with my family when I was 7 years old. So it was my parents, my brother, and then my sister was born here the first year that we moved to Canada. I then studied finance and economics in university, and that led me to my career now. I work within the infrastructure space, and some of my hobbies are playing tennis. I'm a very active person, but doing things like pageants and working and seeing my friends and family is just kind of what keeps me busy.
And so, what got you into the economics world and infrastructure?
It all just kind of happened step by step, but something that I've been passionate about for a very long time is doing something that would help alleviate poverty. That's kind of something that that's always been important to me and just always been a passion and just something that I think, you know, us as a society should be working on towards. And just kind of in university taking economics classes, and even before that, just reading books or just watching the news and things like that. I was always just a little bit empathetic with how, some people live with with just such a lack of opportunity and stuck in these cycles of poverty. And so, one of my dreams is to work for the United Nations one day. They have their sustainable development goal. Like the very first one is to alleviate poverty. So working within infrastructure and learning finance and economics were all just kind of pieces that I think kind of like link together to help you think through a lot of these big issues, such as like what do you do to alleviate poverty. And so the reason why I decided to study finance and economics is because I thought I would learn about financial literacy. And like to me, I thought that that was maybe the number one thing that people are missing to get out of their cycles, being in these cycles of poverty. And I think that it's definitely a big piece. But then there's so many people out there who are just not even at the position to be able to use those tools and to learn about personal finance. I think there's a few other steps that they need to kind of get to certain opportunities to then be able to help themselves with those tools. And working within the infrastructure space, I think it really showed me and highlighted the importance of really good public infrastructure. This sets that foundational piece that just gives people access and opportunities that will help them connect all these resources that could help get out of these cycles. I think right now, basically, what I've learned is that public infrastructure is a very important piece in alleviating poverty. So I love working in that space just because it's so.
I love that. And I was going to ask you, for those of us that don't know much about those, what kind of like infrastructures would you be talking about that people could have access to?
So infrastructure can be very varied. You're right. Like there's so much, it's such a broad term, but I think things like really good access to the internet. So like broadband connectivity, having access to high speed internet, gives you access to internet to the opportunities that are available on the internet. And so you're able to learn, you're able to communicate, you're able to, gain this knowledge that will eventually connect you to certain resources and opportunities that can, get you in places where you can really start to live in a place that would just get you out of all these like poverty situations and
Of
where you could
course,
thrive.
yeah. Places probably like public libraries people can attend to, can use the computers and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also having public spaces like that. Infrastructure is it's also clean power. It's also building really good roads. It's also having really good transit system. So I actually spent some time in Bolivia. So I
Oh,
lived in La Paz, Bolivia for about 4 months, just
oh wow.
some years ago. And some of the locals, some of my colleagues there, I was working on an international development project, and some of the locals there that were my colleagues were telling me about how they have these telefericos in the sky. So
Oh
basically,
yeah.
you've heard of them. So it's kind of like ski gondolas, and like it's their subway or like their metro system
Yeah.
of how to get around because their topography is very mountainous. So it
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Certain places weren't very accessible. It would just take so long to get to, or it was inconvenient. But now, people living in the South have like such good access to the north where there's
Yeah.
a lot more opportunities, and that actually changes lives. And also you're able to meet people, you're able to just kind of communicate with the full
Connect
population
two
of the
worlds
city as well.
basically.
Exactly. And that was my first time that I think it really clicked for me that having really good infrastructure, it's not just about setting up the city in a certain way. It's also the public impact is to really give access and opportunity to the people within that city and province or country.
That's incredible because it could really be life changing for someone to have access to something like that. And is there anything that you're working on right now that you could share with us, or any projects, even personal ones? It doesn't have to be like professional, but yeah.
So I professionally, I do work within the infrastructure place, within the infrastructure space, and we do look at a wide variety of projects. I actually
Mm-hmm.
just started a new role where I'm working with the Indigenous communities of
Oh,
Ontario. I'm helping kind of get them settled in Toronto. So some
hmm.
individuals or family members that are coming into Toronto, I show them around. I show them how to use the subway, or kind of show them a nice cafe, or kind
Mm-hmm.
of just like hear about their stories. And it's been really nice because even though there's other systems in place to help them find housing and jobs and things like that, I think for them just to have someone that can help them do these little things that sometimes they don't have friends and families to show them, I think it's just I can just see it's just a nice little a nice little touch of comfort for them. So that's been really rewarding. And given that I'm from Ukraine myself, so it's just been nice to kind of do something to help the situation that's happening right now, just to connect with those families. So
Yeah.
that's just another side project that I'm working on.
Yeah, I'm sure it's nice to kind of reconnect with your culture a little bit. And I know that will for sure help them so much because it can feel so overwhelming to get into a new place. Yeah, my in-laws moved here a couple years ago, and even having us here, everything felt so overwhelming for them. Yeah, no, that what you're doing is just amazing for those families coming in.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you used to be really shy when you were a kid. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Is there anything that you stopped yourself from doing because of that back in the day? I know you mentioned that that kept you back one grade back in the day, or yeah.
Yes, that's a whole
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Can give you maybe not the whole story, but the medium short story. So when we moved to Canada, I was 7 years old, and I went directly into grade 3. And like I didn't know any English, and I was also pretty shy. But I've always been a very conscientious like little girl, and like very studious. So and I was also like the responsible one in the family even at that age. But so whenever I was given homework, in my classroom, I would always try to figure out how to do it. Like I really took it seriously. I made sure I did it even though I was like maybe a little bit confused as to what the assignment even was. But I did it. Like I did whatever it took to do it. And then when you come in the morning and back into the classroom, what you had to do is put it in the in bin, which is in the front of the classroom. And then there was an out bin where you would collect your homework the next day. But I was just like, absolutely terrified to go in front of the class and actually hand it in. So I would
Oh,
never hand
wow.
in my homework. I did it every day, or like I did it any time I was assigned, but I would
Mm.
need my understanding just because I was just so nervous to speak to the teacher and, just do
Mhm.
these little things that like everyone was doing, like handing in your homework. But the interesting thing was I like out in recess and for lunch and things like that, I was very social. Like it was really easy for me to connect with my
Interesting.
peers and make friends. Like my parents were always
Yeah.
confused as to like how I was setting up play dates and just like they're like, how are you like you can't even speak English. But
That's
it's
so funny.
yeah, but in the classroom I felt like I like my voice just went away. Like I couldn't I just couldn't do those like basic things that the rest of the students were doing. So it did help like, hold me back a grade. So I did have to repeat grade three and it was I think a little bit of like a misunderstanding for sure.
It's a crazy story. That's so funny that you were like terrified literally to just go in front of the class, but you're just making friends everywhere. So, is there anything that helped you kind of get over that fear? Because obviously you're a very confident woman. We both competed on a big stage just in August. So, what's the one thing you think helped you get there and overcome that fear?
I think it was, I always had this kind of interesting mix. I loved being with people and I
Mhm.
loved doing things. Like I loved being in social situations and I loved leading and just kind of bringing up ideas. But
Mhm.
I was also shy in terms of, like just being like in front of teachers and like in classrooms. So I think because of my like very strong desire to do those things, I always just put myself in just places and positions where I was super uncomfortable. But I
Mhm.
think what drove me was just my desire to be around people and to be a part of groups and ideas and just kind of participating in all these kind of like group events. So I
Mhm.
think it was just, I always from a very young age just pushed myself and put myself in very, very uncomfortable positions. And eventually it got easier little by little. Yeah. And now, we were on stage just 3 months ago
Mhm.
and it was easier than me being in grade three trying to hand in my homework. So I just think that it just really shows that, over time, like if you just put yourself over and over again in
Mhm.
these uncomfortable positions, that you just kind of get over it. And
Definitely. Can you remember a story of any of those difficult situations that you put yourself into that you can think back on?
it was probably things like in group assignments, I would like the person that had to present in front of a classroom, I would just kind of like I would just volunteer and say, I'll do it. And then I would freeze like in front of a classroom or like I would stutter and like not do very
Yeah.
well. Um, but I just kept doing it. I don't know what it was. Like it just that me not doing it well never really stopped me. And I think that's kind of I don't know what to call that, but I just think maybe just always I always had a I think my family always instilled like a pretty good belief system in me that
Mm.
that I am capable of anything. So I
Mhm.
think maybe I just always knew that I can overcome this. Like I have it within me to do it. There's something that's making me uncomfortable, so I just have to kind of like shut it. And like the only way to do it is just by practicing. So it was almost this like just belief that I had. Um, and yeah, it was just a bunch of things like that. I would always just volunteer to do things like that. And I was also the oldest of my siblings. So I think
Mhm.
I would, sometimes have to go and to my brother's classroom and like help kind of like, explain like what the project was. Kind of took on that
Mhm.
role of, the teacher would explain to me like what he had to do for his group project. And then I would go home and like help him. So I just kind of I think it was just I was placed in all these different like in these different situations that just made
Yeah.
me kind of have to step into that role of being more confident.
I love that. And I think it goes to show little things every day just add up. And it doesn't have to be a huge, huge moment for it to become something significant. So, yeah, I love that. Maybe the biggest takeaway is just to take it one step at a time and just going for it, right? Um, I wanted to ask you because obviously the podcast is called Imperfectly Perfect. To me, that just means showing up as you are with what you have. And like you said, just take it one step at a time. What do you think is something you're still learning to be imperfectly perfect about right now?
That's a good question. I think there's no such thing as being perfect. Like, I genuinely don't think that actually exists. So I think I do like to have a certain level of preparation for almost everything that I do, but
Mhm.
you also just don't have time to over prepare or prepare for everything that you do. So sometimes you just kind of have to start when you're not ready and go
Yeah.
from there. I think it's really hard to also make decisions in theory. So I think sometimes being perfect, it's just about just starting when things are imperfect and then making it better as you go. That's kind of like what I always say to myself. Once I get the ball rolling and I have a certain direction in my mind, I will like the path will become more clear. You'll like your ideas will get better like as you start to put things in practice. So I just don't believe in waiting for when things are perfect or the right time or anything like that. I think you just kind of get started and things become better as you put it in practice.
Oh, 100. I think us women tend to look for that perfection and say, well, right now I'm not ready. Maybe once I'm ready and I have this line up, then I'll get started because we always want to give 100%. And I think I even read that women won't even apply to a job unless they meet all these list of requirements. While men will just go for it, even if they have just 24% of the qualifications. So I think it's important to, like you said, remember you actually get better once you get started and things start, lighting up and you see other ideas and things start showing up as you get going, not just waiting for the perfect time. So I love that.
And I was just gonna say, I also think that there's also this fear of criticism or this fear of judgment, I think, that
Yeah.
sometimes holds you
Hmm.
back, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's prevalent in a lot of people, but also especially women, as you mentioned. So I think that's why sometimes people want to over prepare and like just
Mhm.
wait for the right time. But you're going to be judged anyway. You're going to be criticized no matter what. And sometimes
Oh,
there's
yeah.
also a price to pay for not doing something, for waiting too long. So I think it's almost like just being comfortable with the fact that you can't control what people say and think about you and like all that judgment and criticism, like kind of like try to push it aside. And I
Yeah.
think that also helps you get started and do things when it's not perfect as
Yeah.
well.
Well, that actually kind of stopped me back in the day. I always loved like pageants and I signed up for one and I was told horrible things and that just like stopped me in my tracks. I never went back to it. And yeah, I think it's just important to remember you're here in this world to show everyone your gifts. Like maybe someone has something to learn from you, right? And if you never show up, you're not only robbing yourself, but the other person that might get help from seeing you. So I think it's very powerful. And I think just showing up ourselves and our challenges, we don't think like it could, but it could create a change in the world. So I think yeah, we just got to get started and get going and show up in the world. So let's just now share something fun about you. I know you said you're a bit of a foodie, and this summer you went to Greece. Is there anything that you can share with us? Any fun things that you ate? Anything new, or were you pretty familiar with the like food over there?
So it has amazing food, first of all. Like Greece is
Yeah.
amazing. Had so much fresh like seafood. We had so much, just like even their tomatoes, like they just taste really
Oh,
good. Like
really?
their olives, like their cucumbers. So it's even like without even, having like a
Like a
specific type of
fancy
dish.
meal. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, the freshness of the food that was amazing. Um, and also I didn't really feel too heavy. Like we were eating a lot, but I didn't really feel too
Mm.
heavy. And like, yeah, it was just, I feel like I love their diet, like that Mediterranean diet. We had a lot of like chicken souvlaki and, tzatziki and all those classics. But yeah, just also enjoy just a lot of like fresh fruits and vegetables there, especially the
Mm.
vegetables. But yeah, I'm definitely a foodie. I love going out for dinner here in Toronto.
Hmm.
And I like to sometimes do little reels and then also just like talk about my experience there. I actually used to work at a restaurant when I was a student in university, and
Oh,
that's kind of what triggered my love for food because I worked for a chef, Sous Shirley. So he's a select. He was
yeah.
a very he is a very creative chef. So, I just like learned a lot about different types of vegetables and sauces and how to pair
Oh.
wine. And it just kind of, yeah, opened up my world to like the food world, basically, like, and all
Mhm.
that stuff. I was a huge fan of Anthony Bourdain. And so, yeah, now I just like enjoy dinners in Toronto, and I like to just kind of learn a little bit about the chefs, about the actual restaurant, and I'll film it and just put it on Instagram, which is kind of my like creative outlet. But
Oh,
yeah, I love food for sure.
I love that. And it's so funny because people always think beauty queens don't eat, but it goes to show that we love food.
No, we all love food. And like we went
Yeah.
out for so many different good lunches and dinners during pageant week. And
Yeah.
I feel like I could tell everyone there loves food. It was
Sure.
we were
Nobody
enjoying
missed a
ourselves.
plate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, it was good. Are there any fun trips or any places that you wanted to visit because of like food there? I know you went to you said Bolivia or so any fun foods that you tried there?
In Bolivia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did. What was it? So I tried a llama. So that like llama
Oh
meat.
wow.
So that was definitely unique. And it was actually
Yeah.
a llama tartare. Yeah, we went to this
Interesting.
restaurant, and it was actually really good, very gamey, very,
Hmm.
if you like a beef tartare, I think it's similar, just a little bit gamier. That was really good. And they just had a lot of different varieties of potato. Like I think they have hundreds of different types of potatoes.
That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
creative
Yeah.
with their food. They just kind of like, yeah, have different types of like some of them are sweet. There's like a white potato
Mm.
with red dots, and like there's orange potatoes. Like there's so many different types, and they all taste a little bit different as well. So, and
Oh
I love
wow.
potatoes. So I also like would buy different types of potatoes and like experiment in like my
Yeah.
kitchen back home as well. So that was something very memorable. Just all the different potatoes that, yeah, I saw in the pods.
Oh, that's fun. Like I never knew about that. You think regular potatoes and like sweet potatoes, but that's it.
No, there's
So
some really, yeah.
that's so interesting. You also mentioned that you were a background actor when you were younger.
Oh yes. So that yeah, that was something that was my first job. I did that actually in like middle school. I did that, yeah, and I did that a little bit older as well. So I actually think that helped me step out of my shyness
Yeah.
is because I was constantly meeting new people.
Yeah.
You're there on set for hours at a time, and you're actually filming maybe for like 2 hours out of all those hours. So
Wow.
there's just so much time for you to just like get to know other people and just like
Yeah.
like have those conversations like back in the backstage. And also I was quite young, and a lot of them were like a little bit older, and they had families
Mm.
to know people from different walks of life. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that also got me out of my comfort zone. Um,
I'm sure you had to go to like castings and things like that, or
It was, yeah, you have there's castings like depending on like the type of like if it's a like a craft dinner commercial or there's different, types of I guess like background workers that they're looking for. So you
oh,
just
okay,
kind
yeah.
of
Hmm.
fit you kind of have to like fit the look, but it wasn't anything like I had to read lines or like practice for
Mm.
it. So it was a pretty easy, you just kind of show up and they're like, okay, yeah, you can be like one of the kids in the background.
You could fit, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Still, but you gotta go to a new place and see new people. So I'm sure, yeah, that sounds like fun. Um, and what promise have you made to yourself recently that you're proud of keeping? Because I know you mentioned that you think that's one of the keys to, becoming a bit more confident. And it's so funny because once someone asked me that, and I answered the same thing. So, yeah, I do think keeping the promises you make to yourself are life changing. The one thing that you think you have kept recently.
What is a promise that I kept to myself? I think it's not being so. I think something that I've really overcome within the last few years, especially this year, like doing the pageant, I think it's the fear of maybe overcoming it, the fear of being seen. So it's sometimes, um, you want to accomplish something, but you don't want other people to know about it.
Mm,
You don't want others to kind of watch you develop. You almost want to share something after you've accomplished something.
yeah.
Like you just want to like share your successes, but you don't want to, you kind of want to be private with your getting there phase just because it can be so like up and down and turbulent.
Yeah. Like starting a
So
project and keeping it private on Instagram so your family and friends don't see it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of embracing that, just like not being afraid of being seen, even when things are imperfect or when things are, still in development.
Mhm.
And so that's just kind of a promise that I've had, or something that I've like really wanted to just embrace with, especially within the
Mhm.
last year, is kind of like whatever you're working on, even if it's not there yet, even if it's not, you haven't fully succeeded in it yet, you just kind of be open with your progress, even when it's, yeah, even when it's not perfect.
Out
I think
there.
it's just to, yeah, just kind of not be afraid of being seen.
And I think, yeah, a lot of it is like embarrassment that you don't know if it's going to be successful or not. And you're like, I don't know if I want to share it. But actually, you're keeping yourself from other people helping you get there faster because you never know. Like, you might share it with someone that might help you. That actually happened with me, like going through the pageant. Like, all these people started showing up, and it helped me get so many things. Like, my dress sponsorship, I shared with my aunt that I was competing. She knew a designer back home, and it just all kind of got together. Yeah, you never know what you're missing out if you're not sharing your projects because someone out there might be able to help you. Is there anything that you want to share? Any message for people to take away from all this?
I think, yeah, we talked a lot about so many different topics, but
Mhm.
if there is anybody out there that is a little bit on the shyer side, I think it's definitely, if you want to overcome it, if that is something that's bothering you and you're on this journey of just shedding that and just being more comfortable being around other people, or just even just comfortable being yourself, I think it's totally possible for you to just keep going and putting yourself in different situations. And I think what you just learn is that it's not as scary when you do fail,
Mm.
and that's what kind of makes you feel more comfortable to then just try things and then just not care too much about the outcome all the time, which kind of like takes away that shyness. So, and I think, over the years, because I've like become so I've like shed that shyness so much, it's just opened up my world so much, just because, now I'm confident and like comfortable with like trying things that, I'm just like a beginner at and just going for it.
Thank you so much for being here. And you're so confident. I know you're so focused, like from all the conversations we had through the pageant. You're an amazing woman. And I'm really rooting for you because she's competing again for another pageant just next week or pretty coming up. So I know hopefully you'll take away with a crown, and maybe I think you should be going for Miss World. You would be a great fit for it. Yeah. Thank you for being here, and I loved our conversation.